Well, hello, you guys. Welcome to another beautiful day here and another edition of Positively Famous Live Fashion Week, which I can't even tell you how excited I've been about this week here. I just have like the best people lined up, including today. I have Anthony Rubio, who's going to come on in a few minutes. And hopefully, if you guys weren't familiar with who he is, that when you saw that I was going to have him on, you went and Googled him. I'm telling you, there's not much that he has not done. So before I get into that, let me see who is here today with me. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Dawn Wolfe, and my company is called Pawsitively Famous. And yeah, so I've been doing these live shows now, I guess, for about 3 weeks. And I've been having such a good time. So let's see who is here with me. So we got Eva. Well, hi, Rob. Hi, Maria. We got Natalie. Oh, you're looking forward to the interview. I know, me too, right? Hi, Stephanie and Jean. So I hope that you guys are interested in pet fashion like I am. I know some people contact me and they're like, oh, I'd really love for my dog to be a model. Well, we're going to ask Anthony all about kind of how does he choose his models and what does that actually look like, because when you're going to get started in this business, right, you really want to think about what can your dog or your cat, what are they actually prepared to do? Are they prepared to do like a photo shoot? Or because going on a runway, like some of the stuff that Anthony does, it's so much going on, and it's just not suitable for a lot of animals actually. So you really have to know what your animal is capable of. And sometimes just getting out there and trying them, if they do well, like I had my friend Richie on yesterday, and we talked about one of the ways that you can test out your animal is to go to a photography studio and set them up with props and trying to get them to look certain directions, and how do they deal with the photographer and lights and all that stuff. And if they do pretty well, then yeah, it might be one of those things where your dog would be a pretty good, or your cat might be a good model or guinea pig or whatever. I've seen pet rats and chickens that have been models, and hopefully we'll get some of those people to come on and be a guest for us at some point. But doing a runway is a whole nother thing. Your animal your dog, your cat has to be comfortable with other people holding it. If it's a small dog or a cat, and not all animals really like that. They might be good sitting there posing, putting their paws up on and looking a certain direction. But when somebody goes to like try to touch them or hold them close, they're like, get off of me. This does not feel good. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. What does it really look like? And, these beautiful designs. I don't have any of those skills for like sewing at all. So I give big props to people who do. And he's just so imaginative with some of the things that I've seen him create. They're just like incredible. They're like works of art, pretty much, right? So make sure that, you have some questions ready as we're going through these interviews, because we are going to take a break and we're going to give you a chance to like ask him whatever you'd like to ask him and bring up some of your questions. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my friend Anthony Rubio here and introduce him. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming and doing Positively Famous Live.
Thank you for having us, Dawn, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Well, I know that you have a lot of fans out there, so I'm sure they were very excited to hear that they're going to get an opportunity to ask you some questions too, because I know you do a lot of TV appearances, right? But it's not always that interactive. So this is going to be a very interactive show, which
Yeah,
I always love for people to find out who are the people behind the designs, right? Who are the people in the business? So that's what I'm really excited is just kind of give everybody a chance to get to know you a little bit, right? And
very well.
when when I was looking at kind of like your bio and all of the things that you've done, it's just it's kind of incredible. So you've done what New York Fashion Week actually for the last 10 years.
10 seasons.
10 seasons. Wow. We're
So
going
that's
to go ahead.
two shows for every season, two shows for every year.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of work. That's a huge commitment,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
so, so what I want to do is I'd love to just go back and let's find out a little bit like when you were a kid, were you interested in pet fashion? Like how did this even like come about, Anthony? Tell us about that.
Growing up, we had pets all the time. My brothers and I always collected animals. So we had hamsters. I mean, we brought everything into the house and we'd get chased out of the house. It's like a duck in the house, frogs in the bathtub, turtles in the sink. So we always had animals. The thing about it is that I had studied fashion design after, at the Fashion Institute of Technology. And I decided that at the time I wasn't ready for the field. So I went into education instead. Whatever the case may be, about 15 years later, fashion came knocking at the door. First of all, I rescued a dog. His name was Bandit. And Bandit always trembled and shook, and he needed something to make him feel a little bit more secure. So I got the idea to create a jacket and put my skills to use, and it worked. The dog got comfortable. He felt a little bit more secure because it was like a hug. And when we went places, people were asking decided to take the dogs to different events and parties and celebrations around the city, and I would always dress him up as a doppelganger. So I would dress him up as Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, you name it, and he would get a lot of attention. And people were asking me, where can I get these clothing from? And it never occurred to me that I would be making this for anyone. It was just for fun. And lo and behold, we ended up in the newspapers, we ended up on television spots, and then the demand started coming in. And I said, you know what? Let's start spreading the love. And I started creating garments for dogs. Can't hear her.
So I said, so that's incredible. So you've been doing this how many years?
12 years, 13 years of
Okay.
fashion shows. And the fashion shows were 12, 13 years, but before that, we were doing events, like I said. So it's been a total between 15, 16 years.
Wow, that's well, and I
It,
mean, it's so great that you can actually do something that you love, right, and you're passionate about, and 10 years later, you're not like ready to throw it in. You're like still going, and I know you have some really cool stuff coming up too.
well, the thing is that when you're enjoying something and it's your passion and your love, time flies by. So when I even stop and think to myself, wow, 15 years already? It's been a blast. So, and new opportunities keep rising. So there's new things. We've been invited to do TV shows, guest appearances. We've shown up to do fundraisers, and you name it, we're out there. And like I said, it's just having so much fun and doing something that you love that the time goes by so quickly.
Well, include talking about fundraisers. I mean, you've raised what over $4 million for charity.
Yes, yes. For several years, I was doing shows, donating my services and helping raise funds at shows in Washington D.C. We did shows pretty much everywhere. We've done it in California, but right now these days I'm more focused on the Guide Dog Foundation. I do sponsor guide dogs, and I do help them out to raise money, and I put the dogs in my shows as well. And the last show we raised like $300,000 in one night. So we're doing really good work, for worthy causes. And one third of the proceeds of everything I sell is donated to rescue organizations.
So I want to ask you real quick, Anthony.
Mhm.
What do you mean that you put the guide dogs in your shows? Like, elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, first of all, there's the opportunity to sponsor a guide dog from when they're born. So I get to go and pick a pup, and I sponsor a dog that goes through training. Which, as a matter of fact, I have two of them that are about to graduate soon from the training to become guide dogs. And to help promote the event, I bring on one of the guide dogs or two, And we've
Oh,
had them,
okay.
the dogs like Sunny, who was on the Today Show. They raised him one summer. Every day they brought him on the show. He walked in my runway show, and then I do a show including their dogs on the runways for their fundraiser.
Okay.
It's
Well,
called Dogs on the Catwalk, and the next one, by the way, is October 8th. Quick plug.
all right. Well, hopefully everything is back at that point. That
Back
sounds
to normal.
great.
Yes. Thank
So,
you.
so tell me about your first, like, what was it like to do like your very first runway show where it was, you and it was your whole, it was all you. What was that like for you?
Well, in all fairness, it was not all me.
Of course.
The dogs were all me. I brought in friends that were fashion designers because I wasn't prepared yet. I wasn't comfortable yet. I was more focused on the doggy clothing to bring in people yet. But what I did was I collaborated with friends of mine. One of them was a designer that was on Project Runway, and they would dress the people, and I would dress the dogs. And they started off on a smaller scale. Before I started bringing professional models, I used to bring in the dog owners, and we used to bring the dogs on the runway because it's all a learning process. It's all a dynamic.
Yes.
You want to know if the dog's going to be comfortable, and for me, it was always that the dog would be the most comfortable with the owner. Eventually, we started training the models and interviewing the models to ask them about how they would model with a dog. How do they feel about dealing with the animal? And that's when that came in. But in the beginning, it was pretty tough because I always say it takes a village. I do choose music, I do choose the colors, I do choose the lighting, but it takes a lot of people to come in and do makeup and hair and the groomers to do the dogs, and it's a lot of work. So it's not that simple. And my name goes on everything, but I always give thanks to all those people who make it possible because there's everything from everybody knows Rob. Rob is
Yeah.
my right hand, and he does all the publicity work. He does the outreach. He helps me get the models. I mean, we get applications for about 300 models at a time, and we're
Wow.
talking about from across the country. So with people are willing to fly into New York it's a big deal to say New York Fashion Week. That's a big deal.
It is. Well, I want to show one of your clips and see, so everybody can see kind of like what we're talking about here. Now, I ended up muting the music that goes with this. Sorry, guys. But at least you can see kind of what it looks like. Look how beautiful. So that is just incredible. I love that. It's she's so elegant. Would that be fun to do that with Anthony, you guys? I mean, come on. To have your little dog there being held, that would just be incredible.
Well, I designed also the women's wear. So, and that's one of my favorite models. She's like incredible. She goes with
Yeah,
me
tell us
everywhere.
tell us what we just saw, Anthony. So what was that?
Okay, that was an evening gown. By the way, the backdrop was from one of my vacations. We took pictures and we created a three-dimensional backdrop to the fashion show, to the runway. The model's name is Lauren. Lauren is a wonderful girl who loves animals, who has a dog herself, and the boys love her. So the big test with the models is if they can get by my boys, Bogey and Kimba, they're in. So that show was for New York Fashion Week, and I just like I said, I designed the women's wear, the gown, the two-piece gown that she was wearing, as well as the gown that was being worn by the dog, which you'll meet in a little bit with Gail Rickeny, and that's Demi, by the way. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but the funny thing is that these shows last maybe 10, 12 minutes. You do all that work and it's gone like really quick. So
Really quick.
it's about perfection, precision. Everything has to be right, and it's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, you do a fabulous job, and we're going to bring in a couple of people here in just a couple of minutes that have worked with you with their dogs on the
Mhm.
runway, and so I'm going to show another clip here so you can tell us a little bit about what this is, and there we go. So this is one of the people coming on in a minute, right? Beautiful. Look at that.
Those are my boys.
Gorgeous. So she's coming on Thursday, and there's your new book, right? So
Yeah.
we
Yes.
should. All right. So I want to know all about that, but we'll get to your book at the end. I mean, because that's I have to have a copy of that. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
so so with all of these designs, I mean, how long does it generally take to make one? Like one dress? Like, what does that look like?
The dog or the
For the
human?
dog. Let's talk dogs right now.
Okay. For the dog, first of all, this is Kimba. This is my one of my boys. This is Kimba, and the inspiration for this garment was Guo from the China Through the Looking Glass Met Gala, and the work that's done is on a brocade, two-way brocade, double-sided, and you see that there's three-dimensional little boxes, and there's epaulets that are done in sequins and rhinestones, and all the doodads and all the bells and whistles. Something like this takes about a week to 2 weeks, depending on the pace I'm able to work at, and that I get the materials that I need. And there's fittings involved. So when you're talking about the fashion shows, I get the measurements. I have first the dogs get selected, then I have to get the measurements, and then I have to start doing the designing, get a fitting if possible. And usually the measurements are pretty accurate, and I don't have to do a fitting. But the dogs love the clothing. It's all about flexibility and breathability. So the dogs are comfortable, as you can see in the shows. And it takes about a couple of months to get everything together. The women's wear alone takes a lot of time. As you can see, this garment over here is one of my newest women's wear pieces that I'm designing for the next show when that happens. But I'm using the time that I have to invent and create things. I'm always messing with materials, like this little hat, for instance. I just made a bucket hat, and it's as light as a feather. And I also work with chainmail like this. This is actual metal, and it has sparkle to it. So I'm always experimenting with materials, and that takes a lot of time because you don't know if you can sew it, you can glue it, you have to solder it. You don't know what you're doing. So a lot of the time, it's experimental.
All right, so let's just say hypothetically, I got my little girl over there, and I said, Anthony, I would really like for you to make something. Would I meet you in person then? Is that how that would go? Or I would just like measure her?
No, forget you. I have to meet the dog.
That's what I'm asking. I live in Florida now, Anthony. I'm not in New York
Yeah,
City anymore.
I don't mean to be rude, but it's about the dog because I have to know, like you said before, you don't know if the dog how the dog is going to react. I don't know if the
Yes.
dog wants to like is going to like wearing clothing. I don't know what the dog is used to, so I want to see the demeanor of the animal. I want to see what it's going to be like for the dog to wear some clothing. I might bring a sample of some things for the dog to try on, but usually what I like to do is get to know a little bit about the animal because it's about safety and comfortability for the dog. Then after that, I talk with you and we discuss what colors, what palettes, what ideas. I throw ideas at you, what you want to get in, how much you want to invest in this garment because the sky's the limit. I mean, I could put Swarovski crystals, I could put pearls, I could put whatever you want on there. But it again, it's a process, and I have to meet you. And yeah, I send you a chart with how to measure the dog, which you then fill in and send it to me, unless I can go and measure the dog myself. But remember, I deal with customers that are in different locations, far and wide.
Well, that's what I was asking. Do I actually need to come to New York and see you, or if I just sent you some measurements and held up little pinky and I was like, make her something, and then we talked. You make it for people all over the world, right?
Oh yeah. In fact, I did a show for California last year where the client reached out to me and she said, "I have this big fundraising event. I have two cocker spaniels, and it's movie themes, and I chose the movie theme of James Bond. So I want one to be James Bond and one to be a villain." And I'm like, "Oh, great!" So here we go. I had her send me the measurements, which was great, and then she picked the villain and the outfit she wanted. She sent pictures and everything, and we had no time because I was doing Fashion Week in LA. But the next day after the fashion show, met with her. I brought equipment with me to the event, and lo and behold, they were perfectly fitted. The dogs were very comfortable. She was ecstatic, and they made their grand entrance. And she came out with James Bond guns, and her husband came out with martini glasses. It was hilarious, but
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
really fun, and it worked out just fine.
Well, It is fun, right? This is all supposed to be fun, and it's wonderful when you have animals that like love getting dressed because oh
No, him. I'm saying him.
I thought you were telling me that. So
He loves
he
it.
loves getting dressed, huh?
Oh yeah, look at this.
Because when I get my little Pinky there, Buzz is sleeping right now. But when I get Buzz, I get a collar or anything to like put on. He gets up on that little bench and he like sits pretty, like he is so happy to get dressed. I'm like, you're so weird,
Yeah,
Buzz, but it's just him. He loves it. So.
they're out to please you.
Well, I've been dressing him since he was a little baby, and I always tell him how amazing and how handsome he looks. So I think, yes, that he just eats all that up from me. So we're going to bring
Wonderful.
on a couple of special guests here, and we're going to talk to them and see some of your designs, which I know they have. So let's see here. Who can I bring on first? I think I'm going to bring on Dale. So we'll be right back with you, Anthony. Are you there?
Hi, Dawn. I'm here. How are you?
Good. So there's a little superstar. Look how precious.
This is Roxy.
Aw, I've seen Roxy on the runway there. She's just adorable. How much does she weigh?
She's a little over 5 pounds,
Aw, and how old is she
and
now?
she just had her 6th birthday.
6. Aw, what a sweetie.
Yeah.
So in a minute, we're going to show off some of his designs, but I'm very curious. How did you get involved in this world? Like, what was that?
It was such a fluke. Actually, the other guest that you're having here today, Gail, she introduced me to Anthony. She invited me to a fashion event about 7 years ago. We were neighbors. And she said, I'm going to this fashion event. Would you like to join me? And I was like, what is it for? And she said, it's for Canine Couture. I'm like, what is that? I had no idea.
Okay.
So I went into the event with her. The first part of it was a VIP cocktail hour. And that was the night that I met Anthony. And then the second day was a fashion show. And I went to the fashion show and I got to see his work and all of his fashions and all the people there with their dogs. And I felt like the girl that was carrying the pumpkin walking into the watermelon, walking into Dirty Dancing. It was like all of a sudden I discovered this cult and I just was hooked at that point. It was
I
crazy.
understand how fun that would be, right? So exciting.
It's amazing. The excitement, the glamour, you can't describe it.
And
The
it's all for a good
adrenaline.
cause, right? It's all for a good cause, a lot
Awesome,
of
yes.
charity work. So besides being super glitzy and fun, it's very worthwhile. It's not just silly
That's
stuff,
the
it's
real
very important.
gratification part, is that there's always charity involved. It's great. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to bring on Gail here in a minute, and then we're going to come back with you, and then we're going to talk to all of you
Okay.
guys. So I'll be back.
Sounds good.
Are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everybody. I love you all. Thank you for having us.
Well, welcome to Positively Famous Live, and who's sitting there on your lap?
I have Demi.
Aw.
Can you see her?
I can, of course we can see the
Hi,
little Demi. So
Anthony.
cute.
Hi, Dale.
So how old is Demi?
I thought she's 5. I think Roxy and Demi have the same birthday, which is May 2nd. And
Really?
I really think she's 5, but Dale says Roxy's 6, so I'll have to go back and check.
So tell me, how did you get into this world, Gail, with all this fashion stuff? Because you're bringing other people into this world now. So what happened? How did you get into this?
Yes, thank you for asking me that.
To that.
Okay, thank you. Like Anthony, but unlike Anthony, because he's like a rock star, superstar, megastar, epic. I used to have a little dog, Tiny, which was a Chihuahua, and when we were little, my carriage, and we would always dress her up in doll clothes. So I had this thing for wanting my little dogs in dresses and outfits. And when I got older, I had my son, and I loved my son, but I didn't have any female children. I had female dogs, little girl dogs, and I always wanted something special for the little girl dogs, which included outfits and couture. But one of the things I didn't have for them was a supply carrier and purses and handbags. So I started to make my own because I couldn't find them myself. And I went to this rescue in Parsippany for animals and charities, and I met some New York people. And they then catapulted me into meeting Anthony later on. And I met Anthony. I have to ask Anthony, I think I might have met him at the New York Pet Fashion Show for the first time. And I fell in love with him. I've never seen such glamour. I mean, Anthony his creations, they're bar none. His standards are so high. They're so elegant. I mean, I have Demi right here, and she dresses better than I do. But that's kind of like how I got started. And when I met Dale was my neighbor, and we had just moved into development together. And I said, Dale, you have to come see this. This is like a community of people you have never seen in your life. I cannot even explain this to you. And so she's like, okay, she came with me. And it was something you had to experience because people don't really get it until you go. It is like Mardi Gras, the passion, the love, the community, the camaraderie, the enthusiasm, and it's for charity and animal rescue.
Yes.
And like Dale got hooked. I mean, you get addicted, and you get addicted quick.
Wow. So I want to see some of these lovely designs. So why don't we start off, Gail, why don't you go ahead and show us some of the lovely things that you have sitting there with you?
Okay, well, this gown is in Anthony's Canine Couture coffee book, which is coming out, and I love this. It was God. Demi modeled this with Briella, which I love her, in New York Fashion Week. And can you see?
I did, yeah, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh my God. Now this one, oh my gosh. Maybe I should stand up a second so you can see. This one, can you see this one?
Yeah, wow. Beautiful. Okay.
Lala. Everybody knows Lala.
Yes.
She wore it on a television show with Anthony, the most expensivest. But I got the gown. I hit the jackpot. And it's gorgeous, right? And she wore this. This is the one that you saw with Lauren and New York Fashion Week.
Yep.
Isn't it gorgeous? And Demi wore it too, but Lala wore it on television. And then this one, I'm sorry, this is another one that she just wore too. For his 10th anniversary season. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I mean, they're so spectacular, and they're just works of art. They're museum quality. It just goes on and on. You cannot just have more than, you can't have one. You got to have a bunch. And this one, another woman, her name was Pamela. She wore it in New York Fashion Week. I mean, Anthony knows the dog, and that's what I love about him. And, when he brings out the outfits, your eyes are like, oh, my God. But then when you see what the other dogs have, you want that one, too. And I love what Anthony said. By him doing this, it's also my way of being able to contribute to charities, and I know it's going for a reputable cause, and it's going to well spent. Here's another one. I mean, it just goes on and on. I just can't wait for more shows. And Anthony, I told you, I said, Demi, she's exclusively yours. She will only model for you and for me. She's exclusively yours because we love you.
That is so beautiful. All of them. Wow. Just incredible.
Yeah, they're just, his textiles, his textures, he travels the world, and what he does is that he brings us into it. He shows us when he's in, different parts of the world, he just takes a bite out of it, the culture, the people, the music. And so it just comes through in all of his designs. And I don't really know, everything that he does, but he's got the biggest heart, and you just cannot but love him.
Aww. Well, I'm just like blown away by everything that you just showed me. It was just like so incredibly gorgeous. Do you have a doggy closet?
Yes, I do. She has her own room. Now, the one thing I want that Dale has that I don't have yet, I have to work on. Dale has like artwork hanging up, which he has of Roxy and Jagger. I haven't seen it
Aw.
yet. I'm going to come over and see it one day, I hope. But I would love to do that too. I've been a little busy, and I will have like a dedicated museum for their life's journey with
I
Anthony.
love it. I absolutely
I
love it.
created a wall in my great room of canvas photos of all of my dogs and all of Anthony's designs, and
Wow.
it's just a fabulous showpiece.
So
And
in
it's
an
growing in
upcoming
leaps and
show,
bounds.
I really want to do artwork. So we might have to bring you back on there, Dale, to see what you've created there with your babies. That would be incredible. I love all
I
that
can send you
stuff.
some photos. It's really beautiful.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Gail, for coming on and being with
Yeah.
us today and bringing Dale into this fun world. You know, you're quite the recruiter there.
Yeah,
But
I would
it's all
love it.
for
And
good cause. So we always need
wow, it's
people to
great.
bring other people in to helping to raise charity. So keep up the good work there, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been fun. So let's see if we can go to Dale here and find out more about you. So
Okay.
you have some of the designs there you want to show us?
I did not bring them down, but I had
Let's just
sent
see
you
her
a bunch
little
of
out. Let's
pictures.
just see her little outfit there.
Okay, so this is a dress that Roxy wore last September. And because she's so tiny, you can see how long the dress is. I
Wow.
mean, the dress goes on for about 3 feet. It's all, has all hand sewn flowers on it, all little jewels in between. And then in the front of the dress, she has a beautiful brooch that's attached to the dress. Let me see if I can show you that. She has a beautiful gemmed brooch in the front.
Beautiful.
And
That
it's
is
just beautiful,
gorgeous.
beautiful multicolors.
That
And it
is,
looks
that is
gorgeous
incredible.
against her white fur.
Incredible. And she is just a gorgeous little girl. So
Thank
you must really enjoy having her. I just got myself a little white dog recently, a little Maltese, because I had Chihuahuas for many years, and
Okay.
I really need another Chihuahua in my life. I'm just putting that out there into the world that I am very ready for another Chihuahua, but I just got a little Maltese that needed
They're
a
the
home.
best.
I adopted her
Oh, that's
I guess in
wonderful.
December. So I can't wait to start dressing her some more. But I mean, I got her a few things so far, but they're just so much fun, aren't they? When you get the little guys,
Oh, they're awesome.
and so she does. I
Anthony,
saw pictures of her. So she does really well with somebody like holding her. Like she's good with all that.
she's wonderful, and it amazes me because when you are behind the scenes of a production like this, between the sound and the lights and everyone running around, and she's just as calm as could be. And she's been working with Anthony since she was 5 months old, and he
Aw.
just always says that she was born for the runway.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here with me. And like I said, I'm going to do another show all about artwork. So I would definitely love
Oh,
to
okay.
see what you have created.
That would be great.
That would be so much fun. And I wish you the best. And hopefully, you know, I'll make it to one of these runway shows one of these days, and I'll get to see little Roxy there in action.
That would be wonderful. It would be great to meet you in person.
It would be so much fun. So let's go back to all of you guys. So this is really fun. I have never had on, just so you know, you guys are the first for me to try out having 3 people on at the same time. I've done 2, but today we pushed
Feels
it
like the
with,
Brady Bunch.
it does, right? But this is so much fun. And I love how, you know, Anthony, you met Gail, then Gail brings in Dale, and then there's just more and more people out there raising money for charities and doing good work in this world. We definitely need more people like you guys. So,
One big happy family.
For sure.
so I'm going to come back. Well, I'm going to say
Absolutely.
I'm going to say goodbye to Gail and Dale, and thank you for coming to do the show. And I'm going to go back because I know
you
that
so much.
Anthony, we have some more questions for
Cheers.
him. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, Dale. Bye, Anthony.
Bye, Gail.
Bye, Dawn.
Bye.
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 See
Bye,
you,
Roxy.
ladies. Great seeing you.
Bye, Kimba. Bogey.
They're so sweet. That was great to have them on here with us, Anthony. That was perfect.
Thank you.
So is your little guy's at nap time for him? Is
No,
he-
this is him all the time. And if I put him down, he'd be back on my lap. This is what he loves to do. So I also have another one, but he's watching TV in the room.
It's funny, my little chihuahua, Mr. Lucky, whenever he would be filming something, I'd hand him to an actor, and we said he had narcolepsy because the moment somebody's holding him, he would close his eyes. And I'm like, just jostle him a little bit and he'll open his eyes again. But yeah, your boy is just beautiful. So he
Thank
really
you.
enjoys this, being out there.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, as far as like what is up next for you, I know that you have a book coming out, which I'm super excited about.
Yes. Well, the book has been in the making. It's taken a lot longer than we planned on because the book was originally supposed to be 100 pages, and we had promised a year. Now, go figure that we didn't take into consideration that there might be mishaps or that time lapses or how much work goes into editing. So we undershot the amount of time it was going to take. Then Canada called. They wanted to be in the book. And before you know it, the book went from 100 pages to 250 pages. So now, of course, if it was a year for 100, it's going to take 2 years for at least 200. And with this pandemic, the book was sent out to China, and everything got locked down. So we've been delayed. We've been going through excuses. I've been having baby cows because I've invested a lot of money. I put down payments and not hearing back from people that I'm emailing, and meanwhile they kept the money, and I'm like going crazy. But we are on target for September, and there's nothing I'm going to do that I'm focusing harder on than on that book because it was supposed to be my 15th year anniversary book. So and since my name is going on it, they are my designs. I wasn't going to just put out anything. I wanted the best. So we hired 5 photographers. We got 5 photographers here, and that was a process in itself. We traveled all over, made clothing for the dogs, took pictures. Then we had to go through all the. It's a process that nobody has any idea what it takes to put a book together. But in the end, it's going to be the most fabulous keepsake.
Well, I hope that you'll keep us all posted of when this thing is actually available because I know I want a copy of it.
Well, we sent out a email last night, a blast to give people more insight because I don't like to keep people in the dark. But the problem is that I wasn't getting answers when I needed them. So,
Yes.
like I said, I was calling China and I was getting answers. Then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, no answers. Then
Yes.
emails, no answers. And so now I'm having to resend it out to a different company in a different country to have it printed. I'm going to end up having extras anyway, so we'll have a sale.
Well, yeah, this pandemic has just affected everything, hasn't it?
Well, let me tell you, you asked me what's next, and I have to tell you, this pandemic has affected the fashion industry in such a way, like everything else, okay? It's affected the fashion industry in a way that um, we don't know if we're going to be able to show in public. We're coming up with concepts of virtual fashion shows. We're coming up with concepts of possibly like some of the big designers in Europe are doing real fashion shows, but without an audience, like they're planning on doing with the sports activities. So it's a lot, and it's all there's no handbook, so we don't know what's going to happen next or what direction to go. So we have our ear to the ground and trying to hear what's coming from Europe, from the West Coast, and find out what direction we want to take it because there's a lot invested in this, not just the work of the creating of the garments, but the preparation. There's flights, there's hotels. Who wants to stay at a hotel now? So it's a lot of craziness. So
It really
we
is.
have a few things. Yeah, we have a few things going on. I can't discuss. I don't believe in discussing a lot because I don't want to jinx myself. But
Yes.
when the pandemic hit, I was supposed to make two appearances, one on in New York in the Tamron Hall show, and then I was supposed to go to California and do an appearance over there for a TV show, The Doctors. And then from there, I was going to be in a TV show, a series, and all of that got canceled the week before. So I still have plane tickets to,
Wow.
it is what it is.
I know, like, there's just no filming going on. There's no productions. I mean, I'm not going to say none. There's very, very few. I've seen a couple of my friends were doing like a Ford commercial recently, but yeah, everything is really shut down until they get this like figured out. So I'm curious. So one of the questions that we have that came in, do you ever use cats in any of your shows? Have you used cats?
I've designed clothing for cats. I have, and I've even designed clothing for monkeys. But
I
the
know a couple
atmosphere of the
monkeys.
runway,
That's awesome.
they're adorable. The thing about it is that I'm not sure how to incorporate a different variety of animals on a runway. It wasn't an easy sell to put the dogs in the first place for New York Fashion Week. That was a godsend. I was in Europe. I got a phone call from Vogue magazine that they had heard about me, and then they connected me with people in New York, and they were like, "We don't put dogs on the runways because it's people fashions. Can you design for people?" And I said, "Well, I studied it." So they said, "Could you put a few pieces together?" And I was in Milan at the time, and I went to the fabric store. I borrowed a machine, and I created three dresses. I sent them the pictures, and they said, "You're in." That was supposed to be one time only. Look, I've done 10 seasons.
Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot of work that you've had to do there, Anthony. But
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure that
they
when
keep
you
inviting me.
you get out there, it's all worth it, right?
Yes, let me tell you, the gratification of watching that first pet that comes out around the corner, because you know what, the girls are gorgeous, the dresses are beautiful, but the people are there anticipating what the dog is going to do, because they expect like chaos or whatever, and when they see that first dog turn the corner, those phones come out and start flashing pictures. The
Yes.
photographers at the pit, I always fill up the pit with many photographers and magazines, and they always are in awe of the behavior of the dogs, how well they work with the models. And again, I'm very nitpicky, so my models have to love animals and they have to know how to handle them. And I've been blessed with that. And we've never had a real bad mishap. The only funny thing was that we had a baby Pomsky, and the Pomsky was he walked down the runway, but suddenly he didn't want to walk back. So what he did was he jumped on the train of the dress and he rode back, and the people loved it. Those are the
Oh my
moments people
God.
take pictures of and love.
That
So
must
yeah, it's an experience, and it's very gratifying.
yeah, that must have been adorable.
Oh yeah.
Riding the train back. But yeah, trying to, intermix a bunch of different animals is definitely not the easiest thing to do. Um,
Well,
so
when the shows are going on, it's a lot of people, a lot of cameras, loud music, and then you sometimes there's a show before your show, and I've had the experience where there's a lot of children's shows, and those children's shows bring in like 40 kids. And of course, they want to
wow.
pet the animals. They want to come and touch the dogs, and I have to put out special rules. Like my dogs have to be dressed in a separate room, a separate location, and I don't want anybody to get hurt because people don't understand that. Look, this is a little guy, and what happens is that when he sees a person's face, all they're seeing is teeth. They get scared of things. So you have to be careful how you present people. You can't just reach out and touch a dog. You have to be introduced to the animal and let the animal make the first move.
So you have, when you're doing these shows, you normally have like a holding room for you and the animals.
I have a room for my dogs and I have a room for my models to dress because I also have to dress the girls. And
Okay.
the dogs, they're the easiest ones. The dogs are the easiest of all. Let me tell you something. You heard what she said about Roxy.
Yeah.
Roxy has been modeling me, and she fit in the palm of my hand the day they brought her in. And let me tell you, the dogs, they get dressed, they sit there, they're patient, they're watching the chaos, they're not bothered. They love the cuddling. Some of them go to sleep. And meanwhile,
Yes.
the models are like, "He's my hair, how's my eyes?" The dogs are like, they're looking at them like, "What is this?" So the dogs are the best part.
Oh boy. So do you normally then, how do you find your models? Like, do they just kind of get introduced to you by other people, or what is that process like?
No, we do postings and model calls. We go on the internet and we put model calls, and we go through pictures. I have interns that work with me because I have to have like there's about five of us who sit down to look at pictures, and it depends on the look that we're going for. I always keep slots open for rescue dogs because I work with, for instance, because of my heritage, close to my heart. The Sato Project, they bring dogs from Puerto Rico, rescue dogs, and I try to put at least one of them in my shows, and they usually get adopted right afterwards. And I like I said, I leave slots open for the Guide Dog Foundation, for one or two rescue organizations, and then I put out the rest of the openings are for the dogs that apply. And I have some of my regulars because I do have customers, and it's a courtesy that extend to them that since they buy the garments a lot from me, I extend that invitation to them. But there's a good seven or eight openings for new dogs to come in. And remember, this is couture. Couture is a garment. First of all, let me explain something. I invented the term pet couturier. Okay, that was my title, and I'm the one who started that because I studied couture with the fashion houses for people, and it takes a lot of time to put a garment together, a lot of the work by hand, the hand sewing of the beading and all of that. So if I'm going to put your dog in, it's custom made, so they have to buy the garment. And when I have customers who are clients who buy from me all the time, I extend the invitation to them. And the rest of them, there's that offer. Look, you can be in the show, but you have to buy the garment.
Well, that absolutely makes sense. So we have a question. What is your absolute favorite design you've ever done? I don't even know if
Oh
you
my
could
God.
answer that.
I wish I could. Put it this way, when I make the garments, I'm so happy with them that when it's time to hand them over to the client, I'm still holding on because it's like putting up my children for adoption. You know what I mean? So I have a lot of favorites and themes that are my favorites. I have pieces from my first original dog where he was Willy Wonka. I still have that costume. I have some of the Michael Jackson outfits. Some of the there. I'm constantly evolving, so it's hard to say. I just finished this garment yesterday, and as you can see, this is all hand sewn. All of the work you see is hand sewn. So today, this is my favorite.
That is gorgeous.
Thank you.
I love
So
it.
that's how it works. It's the flavor of the moment, but they're all my babies. And even when I see Gail picking up the dresses, I'm like, oh my God, my babies. So
Ah, well, I know that you've been doing this for a long time, and again, your passion still just shows through in everything that you do, Anthony. So I think that's why you've been so successful. I mean, you're obviously a smart businessman, but you love what you do. So you know,
yes, I do.
and that's what we
Yes, I
were
do.
talking about yesterday. Like the money will follow. Do what you love, and but you've really made a niche in the world for yourself. I
Well,
mean,
that's how
there's
it
nobody
started.
like you, Anthony.
In the beginning, it was always about, are you going to design clothing? The choices were, you're going to design clothing like everybody else does, that like Petco and the stores sell, or do you want to do something that's so different that people are going to, you're going to wow them? And I said, I'm going to create my own niche. I'm going to create something called couture
Yes.
for dogs. And that's how it started. And I created garments that are one of a kind. There may be variations, but they're each very individual, and they're luxury goods. And like she said, they're like art pieces. So Gail didn't tell you, she hangs her stuff up on the wall sometimes as art. And I've seen
I
customers who
would
put them on
too.
mannequins. Look at my mannequins. That's my artwork there. So it's
Beautiful.
when something is well done and something it's like an award. So there it goes.
Beautiful. Well, so one of my shows that I want to do, Anthony, and maybe you can hook me up with some of your people there. I want to do a show all about people and the dogs' closets, right? I want to see people's
Oh yeah.
closets because, I'm one of those people like I love walk in closets, for women. But I have, over the years seen like people have built like whole rooms for their dogs and then they have like the whole wardrobes going on, and it's
Mhm.
just so beautiful and fun,
Yeah.
so I'm definitely going to be hitting you up to find out some of your people if they want to come on the show and show me their closets.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put it out there. Anybody who's interested, start sending me the information. Because my people, they, each one has their own thing.
So much fun. So does your little dog there like to wear hats? What's the most difficult thing? I mean, because I know some of them, of my dogs, just the shape of their head. Some have done better with hats than others. You have any tips on animals wearing hats?
Well, I have my own little secret formula for the dogs wearing hats for me. They always keep them on and they always like them. So it has to do with the weight of the hat and it has to do with the balance. And these boys have been trained since they were puppies, so they know to wear hats from when they were little. And that's the problem that people want to put an older dog, and if the dog doesn't like something, they're not going to learn when they don't want to learn. It's a problem for them. But for instance, these boys, they're used to their hats.
Oh my
Kimba has been known to
God.
wear hats and wings and you name it through parades because we march at every parade, not this year, but we march at every parade. And as you can see, he'll wear the hat and he's fine. And it's very lightweight. They're very elaborate.
That is fabulous.
And I'm known for my top hats. I'm the one who started the top hats long ago. So the top hat is my signature look. And I'm now experimenting with new shapes and materials. Like I said, I've got this little hat that I just created. And it's sheer, so it's hard to see. It's netting and it's a little bucket hat. And I'm always creating. I'm always inventing.
So do you do footwear at all? Or is it just clothing and hats? Have you ever got into footwear? I'm just curious.
No, no, it's perfectly fine. Look, you know what? To each his own. But my thing is that the pets, their paws, this little pad likes to feel the ground they're walking on, and it makes them feel secure. If you ever see what happens when you put them on for the first time, they fly and kick and whatever. These guys do projectile kicking with the boot. So I've not gotten used to it. And the other thing is this: I don't mind putting on a hat. I don't mind putting on a jacket. But when the dog starts losing its identity because they're putting on all the other doodads, like I said, to each his own. I don't,
Yes.
I'm not putting anyone down, but I want this face to show. I don't want them with glasses and hats and blah 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 blah. I've seen dogs that look like Christmas trees, and to me it looks cumbersome. And then
Yes.
you get people who are going to be like, poor animal. And my thing is that I want the dog to be comfortable. So I'm happy with hats. Sometimes I do layerings of a jacket with a shirt with a coat over it and bow
Okay.
ties. But when I put glasses, there's no hat. When there's hats, there's no, I'm very limited I like it to keep it simple.
So do you ever do outerwear? Like if dog had to wear something underneath and then you do like a
Oh
jacket or
yeah,
something too, like pairings
I
of
do.
things?
Yeah, I do. And I do themes. So they were dressed as Russian czars when they were puppies with the little Russian hats and the Russian coats. And I do all sorts of coats, Indian blanket coats. Yeah, I do all of that. I've done bubble coats, like goose downs for the dogs. So I have all of that. Yeah.
Okay, all right, fun. Yeah, I used to when I lived in Jersey, and we would get the winters. I would do like a snowsuit once in a while for one of my dogs, just
Yeah, I
because
have that.
she would get a lot of those little snowballs all over her fur.
Right.
So I'd put her snow
Yes.
her snow jacket on her,
Yes.
and that helped. But
Um, I also do harnesses. So like this harness I made in Paris while I was on
let me
vacation,
see if I can.
and I fused glass to it
Oh, it's
here.
beautiful. Yeah,
Let me
hold
see.
it up near your face. There you go.
Let me put them near my face. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's gorgeous.
and here's another one. This was a little heavy, but this is all covered in glass.
Wow, so sparkly. That's beautiful.
The boys didn't like them at first because they were a little weighted, but now since they're bigger, they can wear it. And
So,
right now during the pandemic, I'm also making masks
oh
for
yeah, yeah. Let's
the
see
local
some of those.
hospital. Yeah, doing the masks for the local hospitals.
That is so nice of you. I know, a lot of the designers are out there. I see on Facebook, everybody's making masks and stuff for the medical workers and healthcare workers. So, and I've even seen
I
some
really appreciate.
for kids too. Like they're outfitting the whole
Yes,
families too. To try to keep
that's this
everybody
size. Yeah,
safe.
this is for
Ah,
kids.
beautiful.
So yeah, and I commend everybody for doing it. My thing was that I didn't want to get I didn't want to go public and notoriety and getting people getting the idea that I was doing anything like that for profit, because I don't want to profitize from such a crisis. But to each his own. Like I said, people have to make money the way they can, and if that's the way they're making their income, I'll go for it. You know what I mean? But for me, I made some of these things from the beginning, and I was just making little packets of 20 at a time because I sew everything myself. So I was doing like 20 at a time because, but I'm also
Yeah.
teaching classes during the day. So I teach classes for high school, and so I'm doing the online teaching during the mornings. So yeah, I'm very busy.
I was gonna say such a busy man, but that's great that you're able to
Yeah,
make some masks and give them out. So, because I mean, you're
yeah,
right in the heart of New York there, right, with everything going on, and
right.
you know,
hmm
so well,
We
I'm
have so
glad.
much going on, and it is what it is. We acclimate. We're resilient. We're human beings. We make it.
Well, hopefully, yes, we all make it. I know for myself, I'm very nervous about this virus. So I'm very thankful that I have this production studio that obviously I'm still learning how to operate. But I have this set up here in my living room, something to keep myself occupied and
This
hopefully
is so
bring.
fun. This is fun. This is, you know what? This fills people's lives because you want to know something. They want to see this. They need to be distracted from the what's going on, and I think this is wonderful.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad that you had some time to come and be a guest here because, I've always wanted to be able to talk with you and, find out more about you. So this has just been, this is the perfect time with this pandemic to kind of reach out to people that I've always, wanted to sit down with because you're so busy. If I called you up and I said, "Hey, Anthony, you want to do lunch or something? I'm coming to New York." I don't know if you'd be able to squeeze me in. So
I'll make it happen.
I don't know when I'm going to come back to New York, but maybe I don't know. We'll see. It seems like they're making some progress with
Yeah,
things with the virus, so I'm hopeful. But I'd
yeah.
love to come and see you in person one of these days. So till then, take care, and I'll
You
look
too.
forward to maybe having you come back on another show when your book
By
comes
all means.
out because we want to
Yes,
show it off and talk to you about what that whole
absolutely.
process was like too. Because putting a book
And
together,
it, and if I
that's a lot.
if I can express a message, to everybody, you know what? There are things that are out of our hands and out of our control, and we have to put our trust in the professionals, and we have to have faith in God that we're going to pull through. We can learn a lot from them because you know what? If a dog loses a paw, they still keep walking without that paw. If we have to watch them to learn for a change, then we do so. I love my pets and I want you to love your pets and remember that, they depend on us and they're there to teach us also. And I want everybody to, you know, try to keep a positive attitude about this because this is not an easy thing to go through. Never in my wildest dreams in my entire life did I ever expect to see this. And I've kept myself with a positive attitude. I have my moments because how could you not? But I always come back with the idea that, you know what, this is all a learning curve and we're going to come out better than we were before.
Well, it absolutely is, something that we all need to stay positive and, do things that are productive in the world. So, having people like you come on my show to educate people about what it's really like, because, Anthony, I get emails every day and I get people reaching out on Instagram and they're like, "Oh, my dog is so cute," or "My cat," and it should be a model, right? But we know that there's actually a lot that goes into that. So thank you for coming to share your knowledge with everyone here today of, things that you've done here in the industry. But yes, we will all keep a positive attitude and I'll pray that you get your book done.
Thank you. And if
So,
anybody wants to, here's a piece of advice. If you want to get considered for one of my shows, we do advertise, but otherwise you can send pictures to canine models@gmail,
okay,
and that's where we'll receive them and we go through all of them.
good. Well, I wish you
And
the
if you want more
best.
information, and they can also reach me at anthonyrubiodesigns.com.
Yep, and I put your Instagram up and your website for everybody. So definitely reach out to Anthony, especially if you want to buy one of his beautiful designs, and if you want your doggy to be a model. So thank you again, Anthony, for coming on, and you stay safe there, my friend.
You
Bye.
too. Be well. Bye bye.